Hello and welcome to On Point. My name is Vazhenina. Most people haven't put much thought into how close or how far they live from the local grocery store. But limited access to supermarkets with affordable, nutritious food creates a so-called food desert. Food deserts are found in predominantly impoverished communities, although not everyone living in a food desert is poor. They can also appear in urban, suburban, or rural communities. The 2010 census shows almost half of the U.S. population is classified as low-income and live in the food deserts nationwide. Fast food chains tend to outnumber supermarkets in these low-income areas. This corner in Pacoima has 4 fast food restaurants right next to each other. The green areas on this map represent people who live a half mile or more from a supermarket. The light-colored pockets represent higher-income communities where people have quick and easy access to supermarkets that carry nutritious food. Some Pacoima residents realize their neighborhood has a problem.
People that go to work day in and day out, those people, they can't afford to shop at, the markets that have the more expensive items, the items that are either fresher or higher quality, so to speak.
Yeah, we need more stores around our neighborhood. We do. It sucks going all over the place for other food.
According to U.S. Department of Agriculture, nearly 1 million Californians live in a food desert. The lack of healthy and nutritious food in these areas causes a lot of serious health issues, including diabetes and obesity. Experts say more than half of the adult population is overweight in Los Angeles County. Obesity has been diagnosed in 35.4% of adults in South LA, compared to only 10% of adults in nearby West LA. On Point's Malcolm Hoyle has more on the story.
Thanks, Yulia. Today on our show, we have Dr. Craig Olwert of the CSUN Urban Studies Department and Min Foodbank Director Richard Weinroth. We'll start with you, Craig. How do communities become food deserts?
They become food deserts basically as old grocery stores shut down and fast food moves in. And so the areas usually are poor enough that there's just, the grocery stores end up closing down and you end up with a food desert.
Richard?
Same question. Well, it's of course, a big complex issue. There's so many different little shops that might take the place of that big supermarket, but of course the big markets are afraid they're going to lose money because poor neighborhoods often struggle. The people that live in them often struggle to keep food on the table to begin with, and sadly enough, they wind up being replaced by fast food places and value meals. And unfortunately, that stuff, that high-calorie, really dense, fatty food tends to be what replaces, real food in somebody's diet.
If you could, just explain to me, Richard, what MEND is and what services you provide to the community. Sure.
MEND has been around for over 40 years now. We are the largest nonprofit poverty relief agency in the Valley, and I'm the food bank director, so we offer emergency food. That's my responsibility. But not only do we offer food, but we offer clothing, medical and dental services, education and training. We have a homeless program. We have a big Christmas program every year. So we try to help in a more holistic way, not just offering food. Just offering food would be putting a Band-Aid on a very big problem.
How does somebody become eligible for support from MEND?
It's really easy. You just have to be in need. You come in and you sign up, do a needs assessment interview, and nearly every family that asks for help qualifies. It's a 7-city area in the northeastern valley, and we serve families that, fall under the poverty guidelines, basically.
Correct. We see retail, we see fast food restaurants locating in these food deserts and low-income areas.
Right.
Why is it that certain grocery stores are not locating in these areas?
I think a lot of what happens is there's very tight margins in the grocery industry. You're talking margins of 2 to 3%, and with low margins, they're not willing to take the risk to do it. You also, with bigger stores, a lot of the new grocery stores are fairly large. You don't have big enough pieces of land that are easy to develop. And so when I think about, since we've talked about this, I've been thinking, what do you do to try to help get more grocery stores built in those areas? And I think some of it is, can you get big enough pieces of land together and help make it affordable enough for them to move in and build another grocery store?
Richard, why do you think?
Of course, profitability is a real issue. I mean, I'm afraid that most grocery stores aren't nonprofit organizations, even though I would love it if they would consider it, breaking even should be fair. I mean, there's plenty of stores in better neighborhoods, I'm sure, that lose tons of money. But there are ways around this. A lot of communities are embracing the model of farmers markets and community gardens. We have a big garden project that we just undertook at Mend, based originally on our original Seed to Supper program, which was an after-school program for kids where we teach them how to grow things, reap their own harvest, and then we bring them into the kitchen to cook what they've grown. And it was really successful, really fun, really a great benefit and resource to those kids. I mean, if somebody eats fresh fruits and vegetables or is exposed to fresh fruits and vegetables, that's what they're going to eat. I saw a great YouTube video of kids singing hot Cheetos and Takis, and it's really funny, but it's sad when that's the snack. Eating something with a paragraph and a half of ingredients really isn't what food's all about. I think that the farmers market, we have the new program is Home to Harvest. I'm sorry, the Home Harvest program, and we're going to actually build 72 gardens at families' homes throughout the immediate area, and that's a one-year program, and we hope to continue it. But organic gardening, stuff that people can grow, and we're actually going to add a community garden and forum component to it, and actually teach everybody food preservation as well, so they can take advantage of those big harvests once the season's harvest ends.
Greg, you look at areas like Pacoima, Panorama City, Chatsworth. There are fast food restaurants on every block. There are fast food restaurants all around.
Right.
I guess my question is, you talked about profit margins. Why is it profitable for fast food restaurants to be in these areas and for other grocery stores to not?
No, that's a good question. I don't know if I know an answer to that. Honestly, yeah.
I mean, fast food places don't have to worry about their leafy green vegetables going bad quite so quickly because they don't have so much of it. Yeah, they have frozen French fries, frozen burger patties, or if it's not frozen, it's really darn cold. They don't do a lot of preparation of the food on site at the place. It comes in on a truck, and it usually goes into a freezer and a fridge, and it's either fried or grilled, and that's pretty much it.
Low spoilage. I mean, I know this weekend I went to Ralph's, bought 2 big tomatoes, 2 big onions, $5.43.
Right, and you could have gotten a gigantic meal for that $5.43.
I could have gotten the Big Mac Happy Meal, or
I'm
the
afraid so.
extra value meal. And sort of like, I could have a meal, or I could have 2 tomatoes and 2 onions. And I was thinking about this, and I'm like, oh, I would have gone for the Happy Meal.
Unless you had something specific you were making, and that choice is such a huge problem for families, and that's why fast food places are so prevalent in neighborhoods with need, because it's so easy and so quick. And for $3, you can feed somebody really dense, high-calorie stuff and fill their bellies, and you don't have to send your kids, to sleep hungry when you have that opportunity. But with the neighborhood being, quote, the food desert, if you have to walk 1.5 miles to go get some fresh broccoli and some rice and a few tomatoes and some raw chicken, and you have to spend $15 on that to feed your family. If you walk right around the corner and there's, we'll call it Brand X fast food joint, it's certainly much easier to go that way. And families in poverty, quite a few of them do not have cars, so walking to and from a market is a big chore. And when it comes to the elderly, it's even more of a problem because, some people, you get to a certain age and you just don't want to walk 2 miles to the market or 3 miles to the market, especially back with 20 pounds worth of stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, the whole transportation issue, about how do you get bus lines so that they're located so that you can get to the grocery stores. And I think if you were going to have the city help subsidize where you're going to put new grocery store locations, you would want to make sure that they're located along bus routes, bus lines that are high use, high availability to the most people possible. But again, it's a tricky thing to do, but trying to arrange it would be helpful.
Certainly. I mean, we have families coming to Mend and picking up emergency food and leaving with 75 pounds. in 12 bags and getting on the bus, and we help them on the bus. And I
Right.
mean, it's quite a challenge for a
Yep.
65-year-old woman with 2 kids that she's watching because her daughter is busy working, and it's hard. Life is hard sometimes, and the word or the phrase food desert actually was coined originally in England, I think, because of that exact problem. The elderly in more outlying areas struggled with access for food when the bus lines were cut. And I think that happened in the 70s, actually.
Right,
So
makes sense.
there's some trivial information for you.
We talk about transportation as being a challenge to people who are in these food deserts or in low-income areas. What are some other issues for people in these areas?
You could certainly say that price is probably the number one. I mean, of course, transportation is a big issue.
Right.
If it's 5 miles away and you don't have a car, that's a big problem. But also, you could live right behind. I love Whole Foods. Whole Foods is a great market. They have the most beautiful stuff in the world. But if you're working 60 hours a week for minimum wage, and you're feeding 3 kids at home and trying to pay for your car insurance and pay for everything, if you live right behind a Whole Foods, it doesn't matter that you live right behind a Whole Foods, because a head of lettuce is $3 and tomatoes are
Right.
$3.99 a pound for the most beautiful, fantastic striped heirloom tomatoes, but you can't afford that stuff. So that's why you wind up going to Brand X fast food place right around the corner. There are options, and there are a number of little bodegas that are actually coming out and offering better foods, but it is such a struggle financially for them to offer that, because if people don't buy it, it goes bad and they have to throw it away, and that's definitely a loss.
Well, and that's the whole scaling up of stores. It's like, it's 80s to now, they keep getting bigger and bigger and serve a bigger and bigger area, which means that people have to travel from farther and farther, which is...
And box stores and Walmart, and people are so used to, middle class and upper middle class people, they will fill up their vehicles with so much stuff, and a lot of it actually winds up going to waste. If you're buying a 3-gallon thing of mayonnaise and you're buying olives by the case, and you spend $500, but these families can't spend that much money to stock up on stuff.
We talked about bodegas and we talked about Walmarts and Whole Foods and Ralph's. Is there a difference in the food that you can find at these places?
I go to Ralph's, I think it looks prettier, but I actually don't shop there. I shop at there's some of those main chains I don't actually shop at. You mentioned like Whole Foods, To me, I have never actually been in one because I've heard that they're expensive, and I'm like, I don't want to spend that much.
Call and hold paycheck. Yeah,
exactly. So I think it's a wonderful place, but it just depends, are you willing to spend the money for it? So I go to a local market there's only like 3 of them that has great produce prices. And it's sort of like, to me, it's like, how would you get those stores into the food deserts where the, cilantro is on sale for $1, where it's $1.20 at a big chain grocery store. And I don't know what that trick is, and I don't know how those grocery stores manage to take off or survive. I haven't figured that one out yet.
I do think that real estate in the more urban areas, in some cases, is very expensive, and you can't, in a big urban environment, you can't afford to create a giant supermarket. But a place like Vallarta has had great luck putting great full-size supermarkets in where others may have closed or where nothing was before, and serving a community that is desperate for that type of product. I mean, it's got a fantastic deli. They have very little going to waste, and their produce is reasonably priced. I'd love to see them do a little better. That would be nice. I do think that, growing your own stuff is always a great addition to your repertoire of where am I going to get my food. We use, of course, in the poorer neighborhoods, it's not necessarily as apropos, but throughout the valley, there are grid patterns and grid patterns throughout the valley of gigantic lawns on front yards, and it would actually take only 10% of the water to create a prospering victory garden compared to a lawn that all you do is cut it and throw it away. You could have beautiful fruits and vegetables growing on your lawn instead of a lawn for 10% of what it costs you to water just grass.
Are people aware of this, though?
A lot of people aren't, and so many people don't want to. Most people in in need don't own their own homes, and a lot of them live in apartments. And of course, nobody wants to invest in a rented home, but through the program, the Home Harvest program, we're actually creating these gardens on people's balconies, on people's patios, and in people's yards that should actually yield something for them and actually save them some money. And with a connection to the food so visceral like that, I do think that people realize how much better those homegrown tomatoes are, and how much better fresh broccoli and kale and onions and garlic and peppers are than the 99-cent value meal.
What tools do urban planners have available to them to help diminish food deserts?
Let's see, I think like some of the new designs of stores, we're trying to bring stores, instead of having the parking lot in front of the store, put the parking lot behind the store. So especially if you're doing food deserts, people are coming by bus, it'd be nice that they don't have to walk through a parking lot
Yeah,
to
2
get to the
acres
store.
of parking lot instead of
Right.
just out the front door would be nice.
Right, and then I think also there's usually parking standards. So there's retail standards that says you have so many square feet, you need so many parking spots. And if you have an area that's being served by people who generally are not shopping with vehicles, then you probably could reduce those standards. And so you could actually change the planning code to reduce the amount of parking that's necessary, which would help then also lower costs because you need less land because you don't have to provide as much parking. So those are two that I think that probably would actually help that planners definitely could do, and that would also make those grocery stores more affordable and profitable.
And we didn't plan too much when we created what we've got going now. It just turned into a sprawl, and it kept growing outwards and growing outwards. I mean, there was a time when we had a fantastic public transportation system in Los Angeles, and you could take a train or a bus and get anywhere. I mean, you still can with a little effort, but I mean, when I think it was the 50s, the 40s and the 50s, when the freeways really came in, things just kept going further and further out, and nobody was expected to walk anywhere ever again.
Can cities encourage stores, or what, in terms of zoning, what can urban planners do to maybe encourage more stores in these areas?
Again, I mean, some of it would just be what can you do for zoning to help encourage them. Obviously, we lost our community redevelopment agencies, but I'm sure they will find a way then to free up money, and they can help provide subsidies. So there is an ability to do that. I don't know if there's necessarily the willpower to do it.
Hopefully that'll come around.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit? You say there's not the willpower. Why do you think the willpower is not there?
Because I mean, basically, you're messing with the free market, right? And most people prefer that the free market should work as it works. And if it doesn't cost justify, then we shouldn't be doing that. So I think that would be what I would expect, why there's not necessarily the willpower to do it.
Your response?
I think it would take an investment, and it would take some motivation, of course. Private industry really needs to lead the way. The government can only do so much. You can give tax incentives, you can give small subsidies. It's really got to be those people who see something within that community that can help support that community. And the community will in turn support those businesses because they're there, because they were there for them.
Well, I was thinking about, you mentioned having classes teaching people how to cook. It's like, if you could have those grocery stores be built either with an extra room that they could have classes continuously how to do that.
Yeah.
Or if you could get this, I mean, grocery stores make a lot of money by if they could sell prepared food, which I was thinking probably if people are working 60 hours a week, one of the reasons you're going to go to fast food is because you're tired.
Sure,
It's
because you don't want to spend a half an hour in the kitchen.
And I don't want to cook.
Yep.
So if you could get those stores also to provide food that's cooked at or below that price, it'd probably still be healthier what a grocery store would have.
I agree. That's one of the reasons Vallarta does so well. I
They
think
sell prepared foods?
they do, and they have a
Okay.
fantastic deli section, and yeah, it's really quite an excellent value, and the community really does embrace that company. I think we need more of that, of course.
What is Men doing to encourage healthy food options in these low-income communities or in any
Sure.
community?
When I first started, it was just before the economic downturn, and the vast majority of the food that we offered was canned and dry goods. mac and cheese, peanut butter, canned soups, and these things are great. These things are really important to have in your home, especially when nothing fresh is around. But real food is fresh food, and you know, there's a lot more love put into fresh food. And although it's a lot more work to rotate it, to solicit it, to share it before it goes bad, fresh food, you know, I think we're supposed to eat 5 servings or 8 servings. Honestly, I really should know that. But we started to really solicit donations of fresh and healthy food. We have groups like Food Forward, with whom we collaborate, that actually go to people's homes picking fruit right off the trees. Picking fruit, as a matter of fact, right from CSUN's orchards. We got 15,000 pounds of fruit from the orchards at CSUN alone last year through Food Forward. We now get about 120,000 pounds every month of fresh and healthy foods, whereas the model of the food bank was once a big bag of canned and dry goods. Now it's about 20 pounds of fresh fruits and vegetables, dairy and lean meats. We do food rescue programs with Albertsons and Trader Joe's and Vons as well. Albertsons and Trader Joe's are very generous to us. Anything that reaches a sell or freeze-by date, we get to share, instead of it just being mac and cheese. Instead of it just being you know, canned creamed corn, we get to offer some really beautiful food. And that may involve us trying to explain to our clients what we've actually given them, if we're getting oyster mushrooms and baby bok choy, or you know, some unusual squash or Japanese eggplant. These are a lot of things that culturally, one culture might not know exactly how to use it, and one culture might, of course, be totally sick of it. But you know, in the Latino community, there are certain staples. In the Asian community, there are certain staples. For every community, there are certain staples that everybody is so accustomed to having grown up with and eating. But we actually perform cooking demonstrations and classes in the lobby at Mend, using the more obscure items that might be coming through our produce channels. So if we happen to be putting 8 pounds of Okinawan sweet potatoes, which are beautiful purple sweet potatoes, into the boxes, people look at them, they're like, what the heck is this? So instead of them just giving that back to us because they don't know how to prepare it, we'll create a couple of dishes using that item and give out recipes. And we also really try to have people understand how important it is to look at a label. We have a diabetic and hypertensive program in collaboration with the medical department upstairs, where not only do we offer people as an incentive to lower their blood sugar, and we offer fresh fruits and vegetables, whole grains, and brown rice, and these things that all of us should really be eating, but especially those with diabetic tendencies and hypertension. It's so important that people embrace these other foods instead of just eating what they're so accustomed to, or just going to the value meal. I mean, everything in moderation, including moderation, but going to a drive-through should not be an everyday occurrence.
Through these programs, do you feel that you are making a difference?
We do. We've actually done some really heartwarming surveys with our clients, and you know, what is the most important thing you need? And they say fresh and healthy vegetables, which is kind of surprising, because I always thought it would be, you know, we need ground meat, we need ham, we need this. It turned out that really what they're struggling to keep in their homes are fresh fruits and vegetables. And you know, we've got proof through the diabetic program that it's actually lowering people's blood sugar levels, which is fantastic. And we now have people coming in specifically looking for fresh fruits and vegetables, because we've actually offered additional visits for any takers. All of our clients come in, any whole grain breads or extra produce that we might have, please come in. If you're not scheduled to come in this week or this, you know, if you've already been here this month, please come in. We'll give you whatever we can share.
I had a student in one of my Master's in Planning Administration classes, and she had done a survey of students, and she had a control group and a non-control group, and they basically looked at how to teach them how to do healthy eating. And the control group who went, or not the control group, but the group that went through the training classes afterwards, she did follow-up, and they actually did take and change their food habits. Mm-hmm. So those types of classes are actually very effective.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes a big difference. Do you guys have the capacity? I mean, could you expand those classes like to grocery stores and stuff? Do you guys have the
No, but we do have a small little store on site
Okay.
where we'll put items for pennies on the dollar in comparison.
Okay.
And we'll take our cooking classes or our diabetic class through there and show them how to read nutritional labels, how to buy, show them on the label in the market, show them, where it shows price per pound, where it shows how many servings per this, where it shows sodium, and these things have been invaluable because a lot of clients don't know how to effectively read a label and don't understand that, that was a can of condensed soup and you were supposed to add milk to it or water,
Right.
and even as it is, it still has half your day's worth of sodium
Right.
just in that one can of soup. But you can make 5 times the amount of soup, fresh and healthy, your own way. That's actually much better for you. And actually, as a component of our garden program, we're actually adding not only a cooking class, we're actually adding food preservation classes. So we're really excited about that too.
We've identified food deserts. We've talked about the problems. My question is this, I'll start with you, Craig. Is there a solution?
An easy solution? No. I mean, I think a lot of things that Richard just talked about are the directions to go. I mean, I think it's going to be a series of marginal changes to slowly end it, but I don't think there is no quick, easy answer.
It's really a matter of access and choice and poverty. I mean, if you cannot afford to go shopping at the market that's 4 miles away, if you can't afford to drive there, if the bus that takes you there, is always so busy that you can't get on with 4 bags of groceries, that's going to be a challenge. I do think that the community garden, the farmers market right down the street, sharing with your neighbors once that community garden model is set up, and of course hoping that the community comes back around, because there's only so much real estate here, and it's all going to get used, and we'd of course love it to help people and be as a benefit and a resource to them instead of just more blight and more space.
Well, Craig and Richard, we appreciate your time and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call or visit fatherhood.gov to learn more.
We would like to thank you for watching On Point. You can follow us on Facebook by searching CSUN On Point and on Twitter at CSUN On Point, all one word. This show appears on our website at csuntvnews.com, and we air on television channel LA 36 Sundays at 4 o'clock. For Malcolm Hoyle and all of us here on Point, I'm Vazhenina. Thank you for watching.